Announcing the commencement of the first purge.
I want you to change the world, and don't think that this is going to happen peacefully or you can do it alone. We need to kill the rich. You get out there, you use your weapons, and you rip Washington apart. You hunt down the billionaires, the bank bosses, the CEOs, the scumbags and the liars, the governors, the lobbyists, the senators, because they're all the same, and you hang them.
Just remember all the good the purge does.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's July 29th, 2018. I'm Eric. I just got a comment from Beta Talk directing me to this particular episode of The Twilight Zone. And the reason why I'm going to talk about this Twilight Zone, or its implications, is because we can see policies similar to this being carried out. Now let me explain. In this episode of Twilight Zone, there is a mandated government test that one must take upon the age of 12. And if you score too high, you are put to death. Now, I'm not saying that anyone's being put to death because their score is too high, but there are punishments for being too smart. For example, the FAA. If a person is of high intelligence, has experience in flight or air traffic, they are passed over for people who've failed in science, for people who have lower IQs. And so the government, their hiring policy, punishes people who are too smart. And another thing about this particular episode is how preoccupied the child was with the opinion of the government. Check it out.
Happy birthday! Congratulations!
I did it!
Happy birthday, son. Yeah, you get to make a wish.
I wish for...
Shh, you don't have to tell us, honey.
No, it's okay. I want you to hear it. I wish for a good mark on the government examination next week. What's wrong? Did I say something?
Oh, no, honey, not at all. It's just that you didn't have to use up your birthday wish on that. You'll do fine on the exam. You shouldn't even be thinking about it.
But everybody at school's been talking about it, and 3 or 4 kids have already taken the test, and they said it was real easy. I just want to do well and make you proud of me.
We are proud of you, Dickie.
Terribly proud.
And we love you, son.
Now, if my kid were that preoccupied with a test done by the government, I would think something is really fucking wrong with them. So this kid, he ends up taking this intelligence test, and he scores too high. And the punishment for that is death. In our own society, people who are more intelligent than the rest of the people are punished in many different ways. The list is long, and the FAA example was just one of them. What about TSA? Those people can't have an IQ much above 80. And of course, I covered a couple of years ago how law enforcement agencies deliberately hire people with lower IQs. And the reason this is because they are good order followers. Remember the discussion I had a little while ago about order followers? I can tell you with 100% certainty, this is the goal behind things like, what's that damn education and Common Core, with No Child Left Behind. See, what they're not trying to improve the scores or intelligence of black kids or Latino kids. They're trying to dumb down the white kids to their level. And I'm not trying to be mean to blacks and Latinos. It's just that when it comes to logic and cognitive ability, you're behind Asians and whites and Jews. And I think the Jewish IQ is way, way exaggerated, by the way. They can't be that fucking smart. I mean, if they were that smart, they wouldn't do half the shit they've done. They wouldn't get kicked out of every motherfucking nation they've ever stepped foot in. So, but I digress. I'm not going to talk about Jews in this video, although I probably should, since they are one of the controlling classes or groups of this world. But Common Core, No Child Left Behind, these wars on education or illiteracy, they are wars on your mind, on the mind of your children. They want to make people stupid. And they want people to be about at the Latino, and I'm talking averages here, the average, okay? I'm not saying there's not geniuses in every race, because there is, but on average, they want people to be at the level of Latinos and blacks in cognitive ability. They don't want you any smarter. They want you to be able to run a computer program. They want you to be able to punch a button on a machine. They want you to be able to count, but not a whole lot more. They don't want you being able to see a set of circumstances before you, and you put the puzzle together and you come to a conclusion as to what is possibly going on. For example, the Parkland shooting. Now, my video was banned on that particular topic. They took it down, I think, about 40 hours later. They blocked it, took it down, and then about 24 hours later, they banned my channel. And in that video, I talked all about how each of the people who were being interviewed had a different story, and how none of their stories really added up. We had a teacher who said she saw a man in full metal armor firing a rifle that she had never seen before, firing it down the hallway. And she said she actually bare witness to this, to him firing the rifle. Then you have a student who says that there had to be 2 gunmen because she was having a conversation with Nikolas Cruz, the alleged shooter, while there was gunfire taking place. She made no mention whatsoever of Nikolas Cruz wearing body armor, having smoke grenades, having a rifle. She had a normal conversation with Nikolas Cruz. And in the timeline, you know, they gave with him being dropped off by Uber and only having X amount of seconds to put on the body armor, assemble the gun, lock and load it, and then there wasn't enough time. So they don't want you smart enough to be able to put these things together and come to the logical conclusion. People like me who look at these things keep on busting them in their false flags. They want you smart enough to be outraged by Saddam Hussein having weapons of mass destruction. They want you smart enough to be outraged by Iran pursuing nuclear weapons, or North Korea. They want you to be outraged by these things, just smart enough to feel threatened by them. And all they're doing is triggering your primitive fear, fight or flight mechanism. So, if you allow your kid to go to public school each and every day, you should be undoing the damage that they do to your child. If they teach them that, well, I don't know, transgenderism is an okay, acceptable thing, and we should embrace the feminist or feminism, the feminine side if we're a male, you should tell your son, no, don't embrace your feminine side because that is your weak side. If they tell your daughter to embrace being a whore, you tell her no, because no one has respect for whores. They don't. I mean, look at Stormy Daniels. Undoubtedly a fucking whore. There's no question about it, right? She had sex on video for money. She's a fucking whore. And as Giuliani said, she may deserve the dignity of that every human being deserves, but nothing beyond that. Because she's a whore. If they teach your children that Abraham Lincoln was a hero because he freed the slaves, you tell your children, no, he didn't free the slaves, son or daughter. They made us all slaves. If you tell them Christopher Columbus discovered America, you tell them, no, son or daughter, Christopher Columbus didn't discover America. The Vikings were here long before Christopher Columbus. They tell you that we have the fairest and most just system of government in the world. You tell them, no, we don't. It's a lie, like everything else. Check out my hair. Check it out. I think it's time to shave it again. I'm looking pretty ridiculous. Yeah. Probably next time you see me, I'm going to be bald again. That's why I cut my hair like I do. Anyway, this Twilight Zone episode, it's pretty dead on. It's almost there. I mean, how long until you know, things like you can only have an IQ of, let's say, 90 in order to live as a peasant in our society? How long until, you know, oh, you got knocked up for the third time? Well, that's just too fucking bad. We're gonna kill that child. Oh, wait. There is a society on this planet that does that. A society that our government is at least partially subservient to. What society is that? Oh, that's right. The Chinese government does that, right? And somehow, some way, they make it onto the UN Human Rights Commission. Somehow, some way, our nation was on the UN Human Rights Commission when we have the world's largest prison population. Most of the crimes include drug possession or sales or possession of firearms. One of those things is a constitutionally protected right. The other shouldn't be illegal in the first place. But somehow we were on the Human Rights Commission. No, their idea of human rights is you being able to wake up in the morning, go to your shitty job that you fucking hate, and be smart enough to perform the tasks at that job, and pay your taxes. That's what they want. And for the most part, that's what they get. Now, there's a few of us out there that enjoy throwing cogs into their machinery, but it hasn't really worked. And because of misinformation and order followers and controlled opposition, you know, you have controlled opposition on the left, you have controlled opposition on the right, and those two things push against each other while something else entirely is going on in the background that that we don't know about. Instead, we're worried about opposing the people on the street over bullshit illusions. And that's how it's controlled opposition. Perhaps Alex Jones is not aware of what he's doing. Perhaps the Young Turks aren't aware of what they're doing. Maybe they have no idea that they are being used as control opposition and that both sides are horrible. Commit horrible crimes against the planet, against the people of the planet, and against their own fucking citizens. But they don't want you to be smart enough to understand that. Which is why that little boy in the show ended up having to die, because he was too smart. And I ask you, how long will it be until they either dumb us down to a point of no return, of no gaining that shit back, or they killing off anybody who ends up being smart? And that's what Pol Pot did. That's what the Chinese Communist Revolution did. They killed anybody that was smart enough to look at that system and say, this is bullshit. Where'd this come from? Oh, the Jews created this system. Maybe we don't want to have anything to do with it because, you know, after all, everything the Jews end up creating is perverse and disgusting in some way. Like communism, socialism. Here I go again, talking about the Jews. But how can I help it? I'm not suggesting any final solution or anything like that, although Bill pretty much sums it up in the beginning of the video for me. So, that's what all these various educational programs are about. They're not about making the black student as smart as the white student, or the Latino student as smart as a black student or the white student. No, it's about making the white student as dumb as the black and Latino students. And if you end up showing any kind of talent, they suppress you. I'll give you a great example of this. My son. My son can do complicated math in his head. And he doesn't show his work. He just figures it out in his head through whatever mechanisms he has. And as a result, his papers, his tests, they all get downgraded. Even if the answers were 100% correct, even if he didn't use a calculator, which he doesn't, he still gets a lesser grade because he can do it in his head. You would think that if the education education system had the best interest of that child in mind, they would encourage being able to do that shit in their head. But no, he gets a lesser grade because he's talented enough, smart enough to do algebra in his head. Or at very least get the right answer. I'm not sure if he's doing the algebra, because when I did my test, I certainly didn't do them, but I did find the right answer. Maybe he's doing it that way, I don't know. It doesn't matter, as long as that answer is correct. My daughter, same thing. She can do, when she wants to do the math, and wants to, she doesn't figure it out on paper, she figures it out in her head. And that's not something I'm going to discourage. But what I was getting at here, with the people who show high cognitive ability, a lot of times they'll get into college and approached by the State Department, the Defense Department, whatever agency, government agency, and they end up getting that talent for themselves. As a matter of fact, when I went to ITT, there was a person from the government, and they came with bodyguards. I mean, the guy looked like a Secret Service agent, or the guys. They looked like Secret Service agents, and they came for the purpose of recruiting the smartest people that were getting ready to graduate. So, if you're a naturally talented individual and you show it, either you're going to end up being punished when you try to find a job for being smarter than the boss, or you're going to end up working for a government think tank. And believe me, Google and all these different companies, they are part of the government. They get a bunch of the government contracts. They may not be officially, United States Department of X, Y, or Z, but they're being treated that way. Anyway, I think I've ranted and raved on for about 25 minutes. I'm not going to keep you too much longer. I just wanted you to see the direction education is headed. I wanted you to see that that these various educational programs are not about making the minority students smarter, but rather about making the white students dumber. I wanted you to see what I said. I hope everybody has a great day. Remember, kill the state before the state kills you.